Okay, hey YouTube, it's Rack60 here with another video talking about the BDM-60, what to look out for going into the future. Maybe you can use this as a mini guide in the future, maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. But there's a lot of differences in this model number and why is it a big deal. I made videos about previous generations before and how that was what could have been a big difference too, but this one is apparently a whole nother model number. And when I mean model number, I mean it's a whole nother change. Like this revision, you can't swap it with any of the previous ones, if that makes any sense. Like when it comes to parts. It's a whole nother, it's its own thing now. So let's get this out the way. You can swap out the face buttons between all generations. They're all exactly the same. You cannot swap out microphones. They're all different, unfortunately. You can swap out the thumbsticks if you want to with all the generations. You cannot swap out the triggers though. They're all different, unfortunately. Um, but if you follow this hierarchy, you can find replacement parts for your certain revision. So we're going off of BDM-60, right? You go back one revision, BDM-50, you can swap out parts with that one. And so forth and so forth, like BDM-50 with 40, 40 with 30, 30 with 20, 20 with 10. But you can't swap forward, if that makes any sense. I mean, you can swap face buttons, and that's about it. No, face buttons and thumbsticks and batteries. That's it. Mm. And and the springs. But I don't know, why would you do that? Like, why would you use old springs in a new controller? That doesn't make any sense. But I'm just saying it's another part you can swap out. Anyway, with the new revision, there's only one microphone. It's on the front-facing microphone, so they removed the back microphone for some reason. You'll see it. There's the point on the board where it used to be at. They removed it completely, which is really weird. I'm assuming they're using AI or something to use noise canceling these days, because that was, from my experience, was the excuse before. And there's a hole in the back of the controller too, just for that. At least I thought that's what that was for. Like this hole right here, like the back microphone was right there. Uh, I'm assuming now that's just for like manufacturing or something, like something to help pull the controller shell off the line or something. I don't know. But we all assumed that was for the back microphone, right? I swore when you took the controller apart, that's where the back microphone is at. But now that part, it seems kind of redundant. Um, Maybe we'll see that removed in the next revision. I don't know. Or maybe that's there for accessories, because Sony does have a habit of doing that. Cough, cough. PlayStation Vita. If you ever own one of those, the 1000 model, had an extra port, and the system was built a certain way because it was based off of the ideas of they were gonna later down the line add like more revisions and uh, different accessories for this console, but apparently Sony didn't have confidence in their own handheld, so they dropped it and slowly like cut back manufacturing on it. And the PlayStation 2000 was not only a lot lighter, but it removed ports, uh, and you can run the system off a cell phone charger at that point, which was great and everything. A lot of the things that they did was great for the new revision, but uh, there was time. I mean, there was stuff with the new revision that didn't make any sense. Like the screen quality was worse. Um, the build quality was kind of better, but worse all at the same time. Like it still functioned like a Vita, everything, but it's just I don't know. The quality was not the same. But I digress, though. Like I said, you follow the hierarchy of the new revision going backwards, and you can find replacement parts. There's another way to tell which revision you have. Scan the QR code. The QR code will give you a serial number. You always pay attention to the number right of the first letter of the serial number. So the letter that you see first in the beginning of it, it doesn't matter because it's always different. It could be like a D, F, E, whatever. It doesn't matter. The number right next to that, to the right, is the motherboard revision. Uh, that's if you bought it brand new from the from the store, right? If you bought it used, there's going to be a chance now that someone could have swapped out an older motherboard into that, or put a fake motherboard or something into it. In that case, you need to use like online software to check if the controller is real. At this time in this video, the online software is not up to date. And when I mean online software, I mean controller testers. Uh, online online controller testers was labeled this motherboard as unknown, which is good and bad at the same time. It's good because it means this controller is so new that no one has figured out how the way to label it in software. It's bad though because people are going to assume the controller is fake and return it and blame Sony, yada yada yada. They know how to deal with that crap. But yeah, like I said, this new battery tray, to me, I see it as a win because people in the community said that they're preparing for the next revision already. The next revision is supposedly supposed to have like a removable battery. This isn't that controller, unfortunately. Technically, all revisions of the Dualsense has a removable battery. All you have to do is open it up and take the battery out. It's plug and play. So that part was never a big deal. It's just the average consumer enjoys putting batteries in the controllers, I guess, or like the ability to have a button or a latch or something to take the batteries out themselves without picking up a screwdriver. So I'm guessing they're working on that on the next revision. Maybe. I don't know. Yes, one microphone, so maybe the noise cancellation is with AI or something. I don't know. Um, and according to like Reddit and other people, they optimize the battery usage, so you should get more battery life. But that's more in software, though. You know, so whatever update that these controllers come with, maybe that's a new DualSense update that's coming out. Because I don't know if people know this, but the console itself has its own updates, and the controller itself has its own updates too. So they both individually have their own software, but they're talking to one another, right? Um, but besides that, it looks like the previous generation, basically. Um, there's no friction rings. The friction rings is built into the shell, as you can kind of see here, which may be a good thing, maybe a bad thing. It's bad for people who make modifications to controllers because that's another point that they can't make money off of. At the same time, that's a good thing because that means less moving parts and less things to manufacture because everything's all one piece. Um, and I've been told the trigger system is more plastic now. There's no metal pieces in there besides, like, obviously, like the spring and the screwdriver, not screwdrivers, but the spring and the screws, and like obviously the motor. But besides that, like the gear system and everything like that, that's all plastic now. So we'll see whether that works out in the long run or not. Um, okay. And my last point before I end this video is uh, they did it again where they, when it comes to these console bundles and just the controller that's included with the console, there's two sets of controllers usually. If you buy a bundle that comes with two controllers, right, you get the one line controller and you get the two line controller. What do I mean by these controllers? And why is this so confusing? Okay, just remember this: the one line controller. This is what they usually look like, right? That is the one they bundle in with the console. That's the one usually wrapped up in the plastic, in the box and stuff like that. But then there's this one. Usually, it's always usually in its own individual box, kind of separated off to the side, kind of. And this is the one that I call the two line controller. The two line controller usually comes in retail, right? This is the ones that, everyone else usually buys off to the side. Like when you're buying the system, and your kid or you or whatever, you got friends or your kids got friends, you buy the extra controller, right? This is that controller. And I've been trying to debate with people or help people realize that yes, these two controllers are the same controller, yes, on the outside, but on the back, though, I would say from a collector's point of view, it lets you know that that controller came with the console. That was the original controller. Does it really make a difference? And like at the end of the day, no, not really. But it's just an interesting fact, though. At this point, right, is that this one comes at retail, you know, and as far as my history, my experience, I guess, where the controller was made in the States or not, the two line information is always slightly different. But when it comes to the one line information, it's usually about the same, regardless, right? And in Japan, the 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 Japan version of the Dualsense, it has barely any information on it, and that's why people really enjoy the Japanese version of the Dualsense. Like the Dualsense manufactured in Japan, it just had like a little small box, right? And just a couple of excuse me, a couple of Japanese symbols, right? And it's very simplistic looking. It's not a bunch of wording all over the back like this. This is for like English speaking countries and stuff. As I don't know. I swear on other revisions they have like Ukrainian languages and stuff other like that. Or was that Russian? I don't know. I swear on other revisions they had more languages and stuff on the back. But it seems like they're cutting that out on the new revisions. Let's go back to this one. And I don't know if that's a manufacturing thing or they don't need that many certifications to get this stuff passed through. But yeah, like the previous generations had more languages and stuff on the back. But like I said, when it came to the other countries and stuff, they didn't have a bunch of everything all over it because like um, when it comes to manufacturing in certain countries, they don't need to pass, uh, certain requirements, right? Especially if the console is made in just Japan only. And I believe Sony has released a Japan only PlayStation 5 at this point. So that's why when you see a Japan only controller and stuff, you don't see a bunch of languages and other stuff on the boxes and stuff like that because it was meant to be only in Japan only. And it only needs to pass those certifications unless it's sold around the world, right? Um, I just figured that little fact that you guys should know about, and that all different logos and stuff means that different certifications that the controller has to pass through to be sold to the general public, or else it'd be deemed unsafe. But hopefully, this information helped you in the long run, or maybe in the future, when it comes to buying this particular controller. Oh, um, if you bought Okay, at this moment of this video, there's two controllers that are out there in the wild besides just the base white that I know of for a fact that should be a Bdm-60. Icon Blue, which is the Walmart Special Edition Dualsense, that's a Bdm-60. And there should be the Gingston, you know what I'm talking about, the free-to-play uh, fantasy RPG game, Kingston, whatever, Impact. Um, that that controller should be a Bdm-60 also too, because that should be coming out. I don't know, this year or next year. But yeah, that controller should be a Bdm-60. Unfortunately, those are the the first two limited edition controllers. Everything else before that is a Bdm-50, unfortunately. So that the samurai game that came out not too long ago, that controller that had all the special engravings and stuff, that's the BDM-50. Not a bad controller, but um, I heard that controller is just like this one, but it has all the previous stuff from the other generations, but it's made more with plastic, kind of like this one. Um, so if you like for some reason you enjoy those friction rings and stuff, then buy that controller. And and you still need to have back buttons and all these other modifications, then yeah, get yourself a BDM-50. That's a good controller for that. If you're looking for a stable, dependable controller with a lot of replacement parts, I would say stick with any controller, like I would say BDM-30 and below. I know that sounds crazy, but not only those controllers are made with metal in them too, but they're heavier, and they have a lot more replacement parts for them out in the wild. So you get yourself one of those controllers for mad cheap that has like stick drift or is just heavily used. Get you one of those, right? And buy you some Hall sticks to solder in and replace the thumbsticks, obviously. Replace the battery, replace the shell if the shell's too dirty or beat up for you, and you got yourself a cheap, good controller. You know, those controllers don't fail that much. The only issue they had really had with those is like maybe the batteries, thumbsticks worn down, the trigger jam, which some of that Like I said, those issues are pretty easy to fix though. Um, there's tons of videos of that, how to fix that now. Even I made a video on how to fix the trigger jam, where you hear the clicking noise, like click, 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 click. Yeah, that's really easy to fix actually. Um, Usually you can reset that in software using an Astrobot demo, which is free. So don't freak out about it. Like, oh, where I get it? I don't want to spend money. It's free. Like it comes on the console, or you can download it off the PlayStation Store for absolutely free. And you start that up. You go to the control demo, and you just follow what's on the screen. Like it literally like fixes the controller sometimes. Um, but if that doesn't fix it, you have to go in there manually and set the gears yourself by hand. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. Once you open up the controller and see how it functions and stuff, and you just notice that, oh, it's just plastic. That's it. You just move, at least move the little pieces of plastic back into place. Uh, Plug the battery back in. Start the controller back up and run the demo again from start to finish. You're good to go again. Perfect. So that's another little tidbit at the end. I hope you enjoyed the video. Sorry, it's not like my usual edited music and all that stuff video. It's just when there's a thought in my head, I have to get it out. I make a video about it. I go through the whole editing process and stuff like that. But if it doesn't meet a certain requirement, I just turn it into a short video like this. So, hey, there's that. So anyway, peace.